Hello, business teachers, and welcome to the Art of Teaching Business podcast. My name is Denise Leigh, and I am the host. Boy, I never thought I'd say that. I've thought about doing a podcast for a couple of years now, and it's happening. So I think it's very appropriate for the first podcast to be a little bit about me. Who am I, and why should you be listening? I've been teaching business education for 27 years. Since I was a little girl, I wanted nothing more than to be a teacher, an art teacher, as a matter of fact. And that's exactly what I did. When I graduated from high school, I went on to pursue an art education degree. I received that degree back in the 90s, and I am certified to teach art kindergarten through 12th grade. I have always been a creative and really never thought about teaching anything other than art. And I did just that. I had various positions where I was in for long-term sub positions and so forth. And I did that for about 4 years. At that time, I had three very young children, and I wanted nothing more than to have a true teaching job. So I went back to school. I was urged by my mentor to go back to school and get my certification to teach business. Why business? Because I am a business geek. I am a relentless, passionate business geek. I love everything business. So I did. I went to Robert Morris University and I earned my certification to teach business education as well as my master's in instructional leadership. And that, again, was in the 90s. And as soon as I received that degree, I got a job teaching business at my alma mater, the high school that I grew up. I say it's not just the school district where I was raised, it's the school district that raised me. So now, 25 years in at my school district where I graduated, it's an interesting class dynamic because I will have some students that I went to high school with their parents and some students that I taught their parents. So it is a very interesting dynamic. When I started teaching at this high school, I was teaching with two other ladies in our department, and we were the business education department. We had one of us was teaching just keyboarding, typing at the time, and one was teaching more computer applications and software applications. And I was teaching career exploratory, corporate America, which is a survey of the business world, kind of like an intro to business class, and everything accounting, accounting 1 and accounting 2. I am now the only teacher that teaches in the school district because when each of those ladies retired, they didn't replace them. So I have taught, are you ready for this? 14 preps in the last 25 years. I no longer teach a career class. They dropped that curriculum a few years ago. We no longer teach keyboarding. We dropped that several years ago, and now that's taught in our middle school. And I have had opportunities to teach art, though, in the last few years. I was for 2 years, a half-day art teacher and a half-day high school business teacher. Now, what was so interesting about that was that for those 2 years, we were going through some transition in our school district and just kind of restructuring our electives. And so all morning, I taught high school business students, trying to keep them awake. And all afternoon, I taught 6th grade art, trying to keep them from climbing the walls. So it's been an interesting teacher journey. Currently, in my 25th year of teaching, I am 9th through 12th grade. We are an elective program. And I say we, I mean I teach accounting 1, accounting 2, personal finance, corporate America. I also teach a software applications class and business law. So here I am at 25 years in and still absolutely loving what I do. I have a very creative approach to teaching business education, and I was looking forward to really sharing that with others. Now, let me go back a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, when I say a couple, 5 years ago to be exact, The last business teacher that I worked with retired, and they didn't replace her. That was the same exact year that my daughter, my youngest daughter of 3 daughters, graduated from high school, the same high school where I taught. And most of the years I was teaching, those girls went to school with me and they were no longer with me. They had all moved on and grew up. And so I was feeling unbelievably alone. I didn't have my kids there, my daughters, and I didn't have a department. I was literally the department of one. And I went through a little bit of a professional depression. I say that affectionately because it was also like a reawakening or a rebirth for me, because I decided I was either going to sink or swim. I was either going to make teaching continue to work for me and find that love and passion again for the teaching profession, or I was going to find something else to do because I knew I was marketable with my artistic ability and my creative mind, as well as all of the skills that we have as teachers. I knew I was going to be marketable. But to be honest, I knew that I still had something to give in the classroom. I just needed to make it enjoyable for me. So at that point, I decided to pivot and go with project-based education. That isn't for everyone, but I'm telling you, that's where I found my light again. That's where I found my happy place in my classroom. And I developed the City Collaborative, which is a truly immersive opportunity for students to learn about business while creating businesses themselves. So I am lucky in that I have 2 classrooms. I have a maker space, which is where the city lives now with almost 200 buildings in that city. And then I have a traditional lecture classroom where we learn all the things so that we can go to the other room and do all the things. So it's truly an introduction and application method of teaching. Now in accounting class, we aren't as project-based because it's so much heavy content that happens in our classroom, but I still try my best to have a creative flair in that class so that I am keeping an audience engaged. So that's me, Denise Leigh, business educator extraordinaire, and one that decided she was no longer going to be alone. So in 2020, I really became visible on social media because I was looking for my people. And 2 years out, I found my people. The business education community has been very good to me. I opened a Teachers Pay Teachers store in 2019, and I found that other people wanted to be creative in their business education classroom as well, that it was just as important to them that they were engaging our students and immersing them in business education. So I appreciate the opportunity to have one of the largest departments in my school, the Department of Social Media, where I am connecting and bantering back and forth via DMs and emails with all of the wonderful business educators really across the globe. So that's it. First episode down, a little bit about me. I want you to stay tuned as I commit to making all of these podcast episodes 20 minutes or less, which should be a great commute to or from school. I'm going to be sharing some engaging and creative ways in which you can keep your business education classroom going with flair and creativity and innovation so that your students will not only want to learn in your space, but they will be learning great, rich business education content. Thank you for listening.